Hello everybody, this is for the third year language section, sociolinguistics lecture. Now, the title of this chapter is Regional and Social Dialects. Now, he tells you first that people use a language to indicate their membership to a particular social group. And by the way we use language indicates a lot about our social status, our gender, our age, and different kinds of social information about us. Now, he tells you next that no two people speak exactly in the same way. And if you bring a sound spectrograph, and the spectrograph is a machine which represents the sound waves of speech, this machine, the sound spectrograph, for the same single vowel, you will find hundreds and hundreds of different ways in the way this particular vowel or this single vowel, in the way it is uttered or in the way it is said by people. Now, it tells you that some features of speech are shared by all the social group members, and however, there are some other features that can differentiate one group from another. So he tells you that differences in language often serve either a unifying or a separating function for the speakers. Now, and he gives you this example. He tells you that the pronunciation, grammar, and vocabulary of Scottish speakers of English is quite distinct, is really different from that kind of English which is used in England, for example. So in this case, notice that the language here has a separating function, functions. At the same time, although there is this variation within Scotland, it tells you that there are also some features of the language which can have a unifying function. For example, an example of a language feature or of the use of a language feature which can have a unifying function is the pronunciation of the letter R. For example, words like star, and he tells you that this letter R is pronounced in a number of English-speaking areas, including Scotland. Okay, so this letter R is pronounced in different area in different English-speaking areas. Okay, and not only Scotland. So this is the unifying function of the language. Next, we will be discussing regional varieties. And regional varieties are of two main kinds. The first is international varieties. And the international varieties, okay? And notice that this comes under the title regional variation within language. We have international varieties, the first kind, and the second kind is called international or intercontinental varieties. Now let's start with the international varieties. It tells you that a British visitor to New Zealand decided while he was in Auckland to look for his old friend. Okay, so he found the address and went to his home. He knocked on the door and he said, "Good day," said and the boy who opened the doors told him, the young man or the boy said, "Good day, what can I do for you?" And this British visitor said, I've called to see my old friend downstone." And the young man answered saying, "Oh, he's dead now, mate. He's dead now, mate." Now, the British visitor, because of what he heard, was about to express his condolences. He thought his friend has died. However, after a very short while, he found his old friend Don Stone himself. The young man has what the young man had actually said was that he was a dad now, mate. So the word dad and the word dead, okay, in British English and in New Zealand English, they have the same pronunciation. That is why the British visitor was first distracted, and he was going to express his condolences when he suddenly realized his mistake. The pronunciation of dead and dad. Okay, he is a dad now, mate. And so his friend was the father of the young boy. The pronunciation of the two words dad and dead are similar. Okay, so the word dad in British English is pronounced in New Zealand English as dead. That's why the British visitor was perplexed. Okay, it tells you that there are vocabulary differences in the varieties of spoken English in different regions also. For example, it tells you that in England people speak of single parents. Australians talk because they talk English also, they talk of sole parents. Okay, so we have single parents in England, and in Australia we can talk about sole parents. Speakers of American English also will tend to use do you have so and so. However, speakers of British English will say have you got so and so. Americans will say gotten, while the British will say got. Okay? Americans will ask questions like did you eat? While the British will ask questions like have you eaten? Okay? The perfect aspect is used a lot in spoken British English. Okay, and notice that all of these variations happen not only in the case of English, but it happens in other languages too. And he gives examples from Spanish and French. It tells you that Spanish and French are languages which are used not only in Spain and France, but they are used a lot in other countries. He tells you that speakers of Spanish will speak will have some aspects of pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar use. Okay, he used a kind of Spanish which is different from the kind of Spanish which is used in other countries like Mexico, Argentina, and Paraguay. Although in Spain they speak Spanish, and in Mexico, Argentina, and Paraguay they also use Spanish. However, the Spanish language which is used in Spain is different from that which is used in other countries such as Mexico, Argentina, and Paraguay. And these differences includes aspects not only in pronunciation but also in vocabulary and grammar, just like the case of English exactly. Do you understand? So, in the case of international variations, okay, or as he calls it, let me see, yes, international varieties. We are talking about differences in English, for example, spoken in different countries. That's why it's called international variations. Differences in Spanish, which is used in different countries, is different in French, which is used when it is used in different countries. That is why it's called international varieties. Okay. Now, the second aspect or the second variation that we have is what is called the intranational or intracontinental variation. And in this respect, we're talking about variations in the English language spoken within the USA. variation within the English which is spoken in the United Kingdom. Do you understand? Now, an example that he gives here, he tells you that there are regional varieties for every English county. We have the variety, a variety found in Yorkshire, which is different from that which is found in Lancashire, which is different from that found in Somerset and Cornwall, and so on. So he noticed that we have different dialects of British English, different dialects of British English. Okay, notice that we're talking here about intranational or intracontinental variations, variation or different dialects within the same country. Okay, and he tells you also that we may have variation, this intranational variation within the same area. For example, it tells you that within the London area we can have a number of dialects. We have the schools, which is often heard in the schools, we have the Cockney, and we have the Geordie. So we're talking about different dialects of the same language within London itself, within the city of London itself. See how things go there? Okay, now notice that in Egypt or in the Arab world, we don't really notice such differences. The differences are very minute. They cannot be easily noticed. Okay, now he tells you that in the USA also we can have different features of the speech of people from different regions, whether in the north, in the Midlands, or the southern varieties. And notice that within those three areas we can find further subdivisions. For example, within the Boston, for example, in the Midland area, we can find the Boston dialect, which is different from the New York City dialect. And within the New York City dialect, a very famous dialect is the Brooklynese, which is quite distinctive. And notice that you can find all of these distinctions if you consult a linguistic atlas. Okay, linguistic atlas can give you information about all the such linguistic features related to pronunciation, grammar, and vocabulary. Okay, okay. We have discussed previously. We have discussed regional dialects, dialects which are related to the region of the country in which, and it is sorry, in the differences in the dialect in the area of the country in which a given language is used. Okay, we have also another kind of variation, which is the social variation. Language can vary for social reasons. Okay, and an example that he gives is the RP English, or the RP pronunciation, which is considered to be a social accent. The abbreviation RP stands for received pronunciation, which is the accent of the educated and the most prestigious members of the English society. Okay, it can also have other names such as the Queen's English. Okay, and it tells you that this is a really rather old-fashioned variety. The Queen's English, some people consider to be a rather old-fashioned variety of RP. It tells you that the British RP pronunciation was promoted by the BBC for decades. And notice that it is a social accent, and it doesn't have any relationship whatsoever with the region. So it is a social accent and not a regional one. Okay, if you hear a person speaking using the RP pronunciation, you can never guess, or you can never tell the region, you can never tell his origin or the region to which he belongs. However, please take care that in the case of regional dialects, if you listen to a person, if you hear a person speaking, you can immediately spot the place to which this person belongs to. If you if you hear the dialect, of Boston, you can say yes. You can simply spot this person or this man or this woman is from Boston. This person speak. If you listen to a person using Cockney English, you know that this person is from a certain district in London. Okay, so by the you can identify the region to which a person belongs by hearing his dialect. But this is in the case of regional varieties, you can identify the region or the area this person belongs to, or where he belongs to. However, in the case of social varieties, and in this case he applies it to the British RP, RP is considered to be a social accent. If you hear a person using RP pronunciation, you can never tell his regional origin. You can never tell the place where this person belongs to. Notice that the British RP is considered to be a social accent. Why is it considered to be a social accent? It tells you that in many speech communities, the British RP is usually associated with the higher social class. Most well-educated Scots, Irish, Welsh, and okay, all use the RP. Okay, notice that. So it is really a very socially prestigious dialect. It tells you that in the ex-colonies of Britain, Australia, Canada, okay, India, they tended first to use the British RP pronunciation, okay, the British RP accent. However, after they gained their freedom, other accents are replacing now the British RP pronunciation. Okay, so it tells you that this British RP pronunciation doesn't have this great admiration. It's as it used to have. Okay, it's not admired anymore. Okay, and this happened a lot in the ex-British colonies. Okay, after they gained their freedom. Okay, and he tells you that also there is a negative reaction to the RP that has been reported in Britain among the young Londoners, and he tells you that this special social group, okay, are beginning now to use the estuary English. Okay, and they started doing this from the 1990s to the and it's now replacing the traditional RP, and some have called the estuary English a new term, or they have given it a new label, which is the new RP. Okay, and he tells you that features of the estuary English are now starting to spread in many areas, in many areas where RP used to be used. Thank you, everybody.